Welcome to Breakdown. Wednesday, April 24th, 2023. JJ, the state of Michigan is getting ready to party. We got football draft. We got a little bit of basketball news. You ready to do it?
Hey, the draft starts tomorrow. I'm ready to start. But before we go there, we should probably talk a little bit about basketball, right?
Some b-ball kind of closed out the college season.
Yeah, let's put a little pin on it. Tournament happened. The coaching hot seat happened. Arkansas got a new coach. Michigan got a new coach. We talked a little bit about it. But what we didn't talk about last time was maybe the biggest program in between the SEC and Big Ten. They actually got a new coach too.
There's going to be a coronation of a new pope.
A new pope, yeah. And he's going to be a Mormon pope because he's Mormon. Mark Pope is, he's a former Wildcat. He was on the '96 championship Kentucky team, and now he's the head man.
He's the head Wildcat.
Head Wildcat in Lexington.
At a football school.
Well, we don't know if it's a football school or a basketball school. We know it's a Mark school because their head football coach is Mark Stoops, and now Mark Pope is the basketball coach.
Well, congratulations to
Congratulations to him.
Okay, JJ, now that we got basketball kind of off our table, I'm ready to talk some draft.
Yeah, I mean,
some college NFL potential going from college to NFL. Before we go there, though, it's going to be held in Detroit.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's going to be in a new place that it hasn't been for a while. It's been in Philadelphia. For the most part of the NFL throughout their history, it's been held at Radio City Music Hall or in New York, right?
Okay, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been in New York for the most part. Recently, they've been given a lot of different NFL cities opportunity to host it. Philly had the opportunity. I think they were the first one, not in New York, to host it. Last year, Nashville had the draft. This year, Detroit gets it.
So we get the draft Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. So, JJ, a little bit of draft history for you. Number one draft pick. Since 2000, SEC has had 9.
Mm-hmm.
How many has the Big Ten have? Number one pick. First pick in the draft.
Since 2000?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Jake Long.
Yeah, I remember Jake Long.
Courtney Brown.
I don't remember that.
Courtney Brown, Penn State, went to the Cleveland Browns. But you know who's had a number one pick?
So what was the answer, 2?
2.
Okay.
And the SEC has had 9 from 7 different schools. Georgia and LSU has had 2 each. But there's a team in Michigan, a school in Michigan, who's had a number one pick.
After Jake Long. He played the same position as Jake Long, but
what am I talking about? What school?
I think we're talking about the school in Mount Pleasant I graduated from. Yeah.
CMU.
Yeah.
CMU. So there's a little bit of draft history. So let's talk about the draft coming up tomorrow. Mm-hmm. We're going to start with quarterbacks because quarterback always rule the draft. Will the Big Ten have a number one pick in the draft tomorrow? I have the number one pick in the draft tomorrow.
Technically, USC. Before we get into the whole Big Ten SEC thing, I did want to say that I want to talk a little bit about the draft being in Michigan and in Detroit. And there was a lot of talk before the draft from Harbaugh about potentially eclipsing 2004, eclipsing
Georgia Bulldogs.
2022 Georgia Bulldogs who had 15. He said that he thinks that they can get 20. And he might be right because Michigan had the most invitees to the combine ever. They had 18 invitees to the combine. I don't know if they'll get 20 drafted, but if he gets 16 drafted, that'll be the most. And to do that in the state of Michigan, in Detroit, that'd be pretty interesting.
Yes, definitely would. I don't think he's going to get 20.
I don't think he's going to get 20 either.
Okay.
But I think he could tie the record for 15. He got a tattoo recently, the 15-0 tattoo on his bicep. Right there. On his shoulder.
Okay.
And he could get 15 players drafted. That's my prediction. But, moving on to whether or not the Big Ten or SEC will have the number one pick.
number one person picked in the draft.
Well, it depends on how strictly you are aligning yourself to the rules, because the number one pick in the draft will be Caleb Williams out of USC, and they currently, I guess, are technically in the Pac-12, but we all know what's coming. We know USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon are joining the Big Ten, and Texas and Oklahoma are joining the SEC. So he will be the number one pick. It just depends on whether you want to. He never threw a pass in the Big Ten, but he's going to a school that's in the Big Ten.
Okay. So tell me why Caleb Williams is number one over the Heisman winner or some other quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, he is a Heisman winner.
That's true. Previous year,
and they don't like to give it to. They don't like to give it to people back. Well, more than once. Outside of Archie Griffin, it's never happened. So I think he'll be for a lot of different reasons. For one, he's Caleb Williams is 22, and Jaden Daniels is almost 24. So I think there's an age difference. Jaden Daniels is also more of a one-read running quarterback, where if his first, sometimes second read isn't there, he'll just take off running. Caleb Williams is incredibly patient. He has the longest time before scrambling in the country. He was the quarterback that took the most time to scramble. Like he was always looking down the field first, second, third, and that's what sells in the NFL. And he has the ability to run. He's not nearly as fast as Jaden Daniels or even a Drake May. He's not quite as fast as Drake May, but he has the mobility and the scrambling up to. I mean, he's a 5-tool player.
Is he a can't miss player?
I don't know about can't miss. I think he reminds me a lot of Trevor Lawrence, where I don't think he's gonna fail, but I don't know. I mean, he is a little undersized. He's 6'1", but his ability to read the defenses, his arm strength is. He doesn't have the strongest arm in the class, but it's definitely strong enough. He has all of the tools that you need.
If you were a general manager for the Chicago Bears, would you take him number one?
I wouldn't even have wasted. I wouldn't waste people's time with the clock. I'd be in contract negotiations at this point if I was the general manager for the Chicago Bears.
Okay, so you're that sold on him. Last year everyone was sold on Bryce Young, and it was question between Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. Okay, but we'll see. There are some other quarterbacks in the draft tomorrow, JJ.
Yeah, there are some other quarterbacks.
How's the SEC and the Big Ten set up for quarterback draft tomorrow? Because tomorrow is what? Just the first round, is the first 1 and 2?
Tomorrow is just the first round,
okay.
And then Friday is 2 through 3, and then Saturday is the rest, 4 through 7. Yeah.
Okay, so how's the SEC set up for quarterbacks being drafted tomorrow?
I really rely on Dane Brugler's The Beast annual draft analysis via The Athletic. That's my resource that I go to for the most part. Lance Zierlein is good as well, and Nate Tice. You have a lot of different people that have a lot of different opinions, but I trust Dane Brugler's assessments probably as much as anybody else's, and he has the SEC with 4 of the top 10 quarterbacks. And the Big Ten also has 4 of the top 10 quarterbacks. He has Tulane and North Carolina are the other schools, but
okay, so that's a pretty good split. SEC Big Ten.
Well, if you're counting USC and Washington and Oregon, okay, we're counting them. We're counting them.
So 4-4. You tell me that Caleb Williams is a sure number one pick. Who's the second best quarterback on the board?
Yeah. A lot of people go with Drake May. That has been the consensus. A lot of going into the season, it was like, was it Caleb?
He's a non-SEC, Big Ten player.
Yeah,
North Carolina. Okay.
Luke May's younger brother. We all remember Luke May. He was the most outstanding player of the Final Four. He was a basketball player, and he was most outstanding player for the Final Four when they won. Not North Carolina's most recent championship. I think the championship before that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, he's a 6'5", 240-pound, pretty fast quarterback. But he doesn't always process super fast. He reminds me a little bit of. I mean, if he fails, it will be because of his processing, like the way Jake Locker, didn't really succeed, and the way Ryan Tannehill. I mean, I could see him having like a Jay Cutler, like Ryan Tannehill type of career.
Okay, now JJ, it's beginning to get interesting. Mm-hmm. You got Caleb Williams and Drake May.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the third quarterback?
Yeah, for me, I'll go J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. Dane Brugler has Jaden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy winner out of LSU. But I think there's a significant enough discrepancy in their age that, and I've watched Jaden Daniels when he was at Arizona State, he really did make a leap this year, this past season at LSU, and I think if you had put JJ McCarthy in that situation, he would have been able to do the exact same thing. If you had given him, the wide receiving talent that he had and the offensive tackle talent that he had.
Well, they got what, 20 pros? So he got some talent.
Well, they did. Well, he's only lost. Oh, talking about JJ McCarthy. Well, he's only lost one game. I mean, they did just win they did just go undefeated and win the national championship.
Okay.
I'm just saying that he plays in a run first offense, and Jaden Daniels did not play in a run first offense. He played in the pass first offense. So I think you could have traded them, and I think JJ McCarthy would have the exact same success.
Okay, I'm gonna say this. My number one pick ahead of Caleb Williams would be Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
That's just me. JJ, why is it that Michael Penix is not getting any love?
I think he is getting a lot of love. I think a lot of people have him in the 30s. I mean,
a second round pick? You telling me?
Well, no, third. Like I think people have him as in the 30s as a prospect.
Okay.
But when you play quarterback, it does there's a curve. So even if you're the 30th best prospect, you're gonna have to. There's a premium that you have to pay for the position. I think a lot of people have him going in the first round.
Okay.
Michael Penix is 23. He's one of the oldest quarterbacks in this draft. He's not the oldest. Bo Nix is a little bit older. Bo Nix is 24, but Michael Penix, he's started 5 years, but I think at least three of those 5 years, his season ended with injury.
Injury, yeah.
He's torn his ACL multiple times, and he's had shoulder issues, and he's had ankle issues. I think when it comes down to it, at this point in his career, he did run a 4.5 40 at the combine. He is fast. I remember like the win over Penn State where he was scrambling and the dive to the pylon. Did he get it in? Did he not?
Right. I remember that.
He did scramble a lot more in his earlier years, but I think now after going through all the injuries that he's going through, he doesn't scramble as much. I think people are a little bit worried about his ability to stay healthy.
Okay. So who are the four from the SEC and the four from the Big Ten that's picked to get drafted this draft? 4 quarterbacks.
Well, I think it's more than 4. I was just talking about like the top 10, but I think the ones that are worth talking about from the SEC are Jaden Daniels obviously, and then you have Spencer Rattler.
South Carolina.
A lot of momentum has been surrounding his name just because he was always in muddy pockets. He had a horrible offensive line at South Carolina, and he's used to having to make plays under duress. So a lot of people are hyping him up.
He definitely had a bad offensive line. So we got 2 of them. What two others?
Yeah, and then Devin Lear out of Kentucky and Joe Milton out of Tennessee.
Kentucky, their quarterback when the season started, he was going to be all world, but he didn't produce like he was projected to during the season. But he's still going to shine in the draft. You telling me?
If by shine you mean go in the 5th or 6th round, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk Big Ten then. We already told me the number 1 pick is going to be Caleb Williams.
Uh-huh.
And I know your favorite team going to have a pick somewhere in the top.
The Bengals?
No. College team.
Oh yeah, Arkansas.
Well, no, I was talking about Michigan.
JJ. JJ McCarthy is absolutely going to be a first rounder as well. And then you have Bo Nix and Michael Penix. Okay. Those are the other 2.
To me, JJ McCarthy is very, very interesting.
Uh-huh.
He has moved up a whole lot.
Yeah.
In my mind. I'm not sold. I mean, I'm the only person who's not sold. So what does that mean? That I don't know what I'm talking about, right?
No, I think you just have to be able to contextualize everything. Like, he was incredibly efficient on third downs. I think he was the most efficient quarterback in the country on third downs. They didn't ask him to throw the ball often, but when they did, it was normally on a money down. It was normally in a situation, a high stress situation. And he came through time and time again against Ohio State, against Alabama, against Washington. He saved his best throws for 3rd and 4th down, and I think that's a valuable trait. He's also the youngest quarterback in the draft.
At what age?
Well, he's just turned 20. When he won the championship, he was still 20. But I'm pretty sure he's 21 at this point now.
So how old was Lamar Jackson when he came into the league? Do you know?
About the same as
Okay.
JJ McCarthy.
I was thinking they were, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's like, he's significantly younger than most of the people that are going to be drafted in his vicinity, with the exception of Drake May. Drake May is also very young. But he has a lot of, growth potential. He's very incredibly mobile, but he doesn't look to run for the most part. If you remember the championship game, he waited till the third quarter to break out that long, 40-yard run. I think he has all the tools, though. I mean, he has a strong enough arm. He's 6'3", 6'4". He's a former hockey player, pretty tough. I mean, obviously he doesn't have the counting numbers that you want, that a Bo Nix would have. But I do think that a lot of people compare him to a bigger Brock Purdy, and I think that's a very good comparison. I think a bigger, faster with Brock Purdy with a stronger arm, and just in his ability to process, not making negative plays, making the right play, and especially on third and fourth down.
What's the earliest he can go in your mind, and what's the latest he can go in your mind?
The earliest he can go is second overall to the Washington Commanders, and the latest he could go is I mean, I don't see him slipping out of the first round just because you have Minnesota and you have QB needy teams. I would say the latest he could go is 20.
Okay, JJ, any more on the quarterbacks before we move to the running backs?
I think that's about it for the quarterbacks. We don't really need to talk more about that.
Okay, so we know there's going to be several quarterbacks taken in the first round. How many running backs are going to be taken in the first round?
Probably zero. I would be surprised if a running back got taken in the first round. It's not a great year for running backs, and running backs don't normally go in the first round anyway nowadays.
That's what I was going to say. Zero running backs in the first round. That's my solution. My prediction. So what is your prediction? Who's the first SEC Big Ten running back to go?
Yeah, I think it's going to either be Jonathan Brooks from Texas or Blake Corum from Michigan. Those are the consensus,
Ooh.
Best running backs, yeah.
What rounds?
2, 3. I mean, I think a running back goes by the second round. I think a running back or two will go. I would anticipate both of those guys to go in the second round.
Yeah. Okay. We'll leave it there. I just wouldn't go there, but I'll take your word for it.
I mean, I'm not like that knowledgeable either. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't. Running back in college is a lot different than running back in the NFL. Your pass protection is a lot more important and valuable.
Indeed.
But just looking at different scouts, those seem to be the consensus top 2 running backs. So
okay,
yeah.
Well,
and that's where they're gonna. That's the slots that I've been seeing a lot lately. So.
Okay. Any other running backs come to your mind?
There's a couple we can mention. The SEC has Ray Davis from Kentucky. He's even older than Blake Corum. He's 24, and then they have Jalen Wright from Tennessee. Those are guys that are supposed to go, third to fourth round. In the Big Ten, you have Marshawn Lloyd from USC. He should go, third, fourth round. Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. He's the youngest running back in the draft. He's not even 21 yet.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be 21 to start the season. Actually, I think he'll still be 20. I like Braylon Allen a lot. I like as a fan of a team that just got rid of Joe Mixon, and might be in need of a running back. Braylon Allen I have my eye on him. So, but there's Bucky Irving from Oregon too. That's another name, but it's not a very good running back class.
Well, let's talk about the second most important position, and some people might say it's the third most important position.
Now I want to know what you're gonna go with. What is it?
I'm gonna go with wide receivers.
Okay, I would go with that third. I would say the people that protect the quarterback is second.
Well, you and I had them reversed, but it's okay. We're still close. Yeah. Let's talk about wide receivers.
Okay.
Some pretty good wide receivers out there, JJ.
Especially in the Big Ten and SEC.
Let's talk about them. Which ones just really grab your attention?
I mean, obviously the big three. You have Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State, Malik Neighbors from LSU, and Rome Odunze from Washington.
Okay.
Those are the guys everyone talks about. I've heard different people say that they would take different players first. I think the consensus is that I mean, they're all going to be first rounders, but I think the consensus is that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be the first one off the board, though.
Okay. I would tend to think he would be. What would you think would be after him as far as receivers go?
I would go with Malik Neighbors.
Man, you and I thinking alike now.
Well, I think a lot of people think that. I think Malik Neighbors I think that's a pretty consensus. I mean, he's incredibly fast. He's not even 21 yet. I don't think he'll be 21 to start the season. He's...
Yeah, he got all the tools.
He has all the tools, yeah.
Like you say, his speed.
He's over 6 feet.
And he can grab the ball.
Yeah.
He can grab the ball. I mean, people...
He runs routes incredibly well.
Yes, yes. Marvin Harris was given the title when he was first game last year in college because of how great he was. And he is great. But, man, I tell you, I loved watching Neighbors play.
Yeah.
I loved, except when he played against Arkansas. I didn't like him so much then. But otherwise, I loved watching him play. So we got the big three, JJ. We don't have to name everybody, but who's a close fourth?
I would say the Robin to Malik Neighbors is Batman at LSU. One of the tools that Jaden Daniels had at his disposal. Brian Thomas Jr., he ran a 4.3. He's even faster than Malik Neighbors.
Ran a 4.3?
Yeah, ran a 4.33 at the combine. I don't know if he's quite as technically proficient as Malik Neighbors, but I think he's really good. I think he's someone that we're talking about. Lad McConkey from Georgia. A lot of people. I mean, I'm a little surprised by his development, but he's just such a quick player in space, like in a phone booth. He actually reminds me a lot of Antonio Brown. Hopefully, he makes different decisions than Antonio Brown, but he reminds me a lot of him on the field. And I always love to do the cross-racial comparisons with white people and black people. So he reminds me of him. You got Texas has Donald Mitchell, and they actually have Xavier Worthy, who ran the fastest 40 time.
That's true.
Of all time
at the combine. Yeah, at the combine. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was flying.
He was flying. He was. Yeah.
I think the watch was a little bit slow when he ran, but that's just me. I don't think people as fast as they gave him that time for. But JJ.
Yeah.
You say the second most important position. Let's talk about it.
All right, let's just throw a couple of names out there. I wanted to get Roman Wilson's name out there. I think he'll go in the top 3.
In the top 3
rounds.
Oh, okay.
And no, not in the top 3.
Thank you. Okay.
And then you have Ricky Pearsall from Florida, the Arizona State transfer, and Keon Coleman. Even though he ran a very slow 40,
he's not a Big Ten he's a former Big Ten.
He's a former Big Ten player. I wanted to bring him up because he did play for
Michigan State.
We also played basketball at Michigan State for Tom Izzo, but he's a great leaper, and I think he's faster than his 40 time on the field says.
I agree with you.
Okay, but yeah, that's...
Where do you think he will go, JJ? What round?
I think he'll go in the 3rd, 2nd or 3rd.
You and I thinking a lot alike. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've talked about most positions. We got 2 positions left, JJ, that I want to talk about.
And I want to throw in Brock Bowers, even though...
the receiver.
Even though he's technically a tight end, he's basically a slot receiver.
Okay. How early would he go, given that he has...
He's going to go in the top 10. Brock Bowers is going in the top 10. I would be shocked if he doesn't.
Okay.
If he doesn't, then somebody in Cincinnati needs to be on the phone trying to move up.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, JJ, let's go defense a little bit.
Well, let's talk a little bit about offensive tackles.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Alt is the preeminent
Notre
number
Dame.
1. He's not in the SEC or the Big Ten.
Yeah.
But Penn State has Alu Fashanu.
He will be a first round pick, top 15.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
J.C. Latham from Alabama.
I think he will be a really good one too. I saw him play a lot.
Yeah, and then Amarius Mims from Georgia. Those are the names to know from the Big Ten. Obviously, we watch the football, so I don't think there's a whole lot of analysis that we have as it pertains to offensive tackle. But I would be shocked if there weren't 4 or 5 offensive tackles taken by the 20th pick. So
from time to time, I watch. JJ, there will be 8 offensive tackles taken in the first round.
I would not be surprised.
1/4 of the draft picks in the first round.
And there could be 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the first round, and there could be
true.
5 or 6 receivers in the first round. It's an offensive heavy draft.
But it'll be more offensive linemen, offensive tackles than any other position. Okay, JJ, let's go to the defense.
Let's go to the defense.
Defensive line.
Defensive line, defensive tackles, and defensive
edge.
Edge rushers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What school in the SEC and the Big Ten is impressive with players on the defensive line?
On the defensive line, Ohio State, Michigan had some guys. Chris Jenkins from Michigan is one of the top 3. I could see him going in the first round or the second. Byron Murphy from Texas, he's another defensive tackle to know about. Johnny Newton from Illinois, he's pretty good as well. And of course, Mike Hall Jr. from Ohio State. Those are the defensive tackles, but the edge rushers I think they're a little bit more. I mean, they get more attention than the big guys in the middle. So, Dallas Turner from Alabama. I think that's the. I mean,
a name that people need to know.
Yeah, I mean, he has it all. He has the 40. He has the speed. He has the wingspan. He has all the tools.
Okay.
I like him a lot. Any defensive lineman that you want to talk about?
Not off the top of my head, man. I'm more of an offensive kind of side guy.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Chop Robinson. I think he's originally from Detroit, but he is at Penn State. He's a guy that I would expect to hear his name called in the first or second round. So that might be a special moment from him being from Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The toughest position in football to play.
Okay, we're going to the last position we're going to talk about.
It is the toughest position to play.
Quarterback.
You out there on an island, all by yourself. It's you against the world, macho against macho, 1 against 1.
Quarterback is the toughest.
And the guy you got, he knows where he's going. You got to follow him. Mm-hmm. Prime time did it better than anyone. Let's talk about the cornerbacks, JJ.
Okay, we'll talk about what I think is the second most difficult position to play.
Let's talk about the cornerbacks, the corners on that island.
Yeah.
Man, how good the SEC and the Big Ten looking at corners?
Oh, they're looking really good at corner. Outside of that, the guy from Toledo, there's going to be a lot of SEC and Big Ten names heard from cornerback. I think Alabama's Terrion Arnold is the consensus. It's either him or the Toledo. What's his name? Quentin Mitchell. One of those 2 guys are going to be the first corner taken. Either Toledo's Quentin Mitchell or Terrion Arnold. Even though Terrion Arnold, he only ran a 4.5 40. He's one of the slower 40s for all the quarterbacks we're going to talk about. I mean, his technique is just unmatched. His ability, he has,
Although his running mate, JJ, was just a freshman last year at Alabama.
Who? What are you talking about?
The defensive guy who transferred to Ohio State, the defensive corner.
When you said running back, I was thinking you were talking about Kool-Aid McKinstry. No. I don't know.
Never mind. Well, I was going to ask you, like, which one, how good was he compared? The guy that left Alabama, went to Ohio State, will be at Ohio State next year.
Oh, he's a safety. Caleb Downs. Yeah, Caleb Downs is a safety. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, he's a safety.
Okay, my bad. Okay.
He can play corner. I think he has the physical tools to play corner if he wanted to. But, he did play safety at Alabama.
Okay. So, thanks for straightening me out. So we got Alabama looking good.
Yeah.
Who else? Who's the best Big Ten safety in the draft?
Corner
in the draft.
That would be Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. He's going to be the first full-time white cornerback in the NFL since Jason Sehorn. And he's going to be really, really good. I would love for him to make his way to Cincinnati. I don't think he'll be there if we stay at where we were picking. But he's coming off an ACL tear. He was a really good punt returner. Phenomenal athlete. 4-sport player in high school.
What kind of 40 time does he have?
4.4. I mean, he's very fast.
Yeah.
Cool. I think he'll be the first. I think he'll go before Mikey Sanderskill out of Michigan. I think that'll be the second Big Ten cornerback. But Mikey Sanderskill, he's a little smaller. He's 5'9". He's a little older. He's 23 already. So I think those are the 2 corners from the Big Ten that you really want to make sure that you're aware of. But other than that,
Okay.
Alabama has that on lockdown.
Well, JJ, I think we've covered like most positions. We didn't cover every single position, but we
Yeah.
covered most of them. And we'll do a review after the draft is done and give our takes on that. But let's move. Simply talking draft, I want to talk really, really quickly about the Heisman Trophy winner from 2005, Reggie Bush.
Yeah, Reggie Bush.
Guess what
Congratulations to him.
What happened to him?
Congratulations are in order. He has been reinstated. His Heisman is going to be returned to him and into USC. So it's been long enough that they've had this charade, and now that NCAA is. I mean, I think the NCAA is on their last legs as a regulation body, but
So he gets to vote for the Heisman next year. He hasn't been able to do that because he did not have that Heisman Trophy. But yeah, I agree with you. It's well overdone.
yeah.
It's way too long. What I'm trying to say before that to happen. But anything else?
No, I think we've held the audience's time for long enough. I thought this was going to be a little bit of a short episode, but draft talk can be a little comprehensive.
You excited?
I'm very excited.
Who you want Cincinnati Bengals to take for that very first pick?
That's a great question. That's a great question.
What position?
Offensive tackle.
Okay, offensive tackle.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna get out of here, and we're gonna see you guys next time on the Rebound. Make sure you show up. You ready to get out of here?
Who dey?
WPS, Woo Pig Suey.